Hey you guys, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It's me, Haley. I got my selfie stick and I just want to share with you something, a couple things actually. This is my parents' property and we're out here, we've set up and everything, and I want you guys to look at what I get to see because it is amazing. So 1, 2, 3, hold on. So beautiful. Look at those clouds, man. Just gorgeous. So, okay. So, I want to share this video because at the very beginning, I said that I hardly ever post anything political, and my videos are geared towards those that have either been in foster care or are going through it, just to be a voice out there because I was one. And 5 videos in, I feel like this is the perfect time on a beautiful Saturday to give those who are voiceless a voice and to say that I'm here. And if y'all ever need me, ever need to talk about anything, you know where to find me. And I have a wonderful community of the foster care community, and I have people who have actually taken care of kids, and it is the most beautiful relationships I've ever had. And I want to share my story today on what happened, how it came to be, and how I made it out. And my story is unique, just like your story is unique, and everyone's voice deserves to be heard. And so I wanted to do that plumb line and just share and give glory, all the glory to God, because He literally found me, you guys. I didn't find Him. He found me. He sought me out. And so we're going to go through with this. I don't know how long it's going to take, but if you guys need to take a break, let me know. And, or you can come back in a minute. I don't know how to do this, you guys. But I was born in Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. I know, New Brunswick. I was born crippled, both feet, completely crippled. The doctor said I would never walk, and I started walking at 4 years old. And 4 years old was a very, not just for walking, but it was a very intense year for me. Some people don't remember when they were little, but I do. And because it was so intense. And so my dad's family, I was born in a Muslim family. My grandmother actually lived in Golan Heights during the 1967 war. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all I'm going to say. I support Israel with everything in me, and we don't disagree, but we can have disagreements and still have relationships. And my mom was she was a good old Southern girl, and things just went really bad. And she was practically grew up in Townsend, Tennessee, and moved to Indiana and moved to Jersey. She had my half-brother in Indiana, and things happened, but that's his story, and moved to Jersey and met my dad and had my sister and me, and my sister's story is her own. um, and so it was a Muslim home, and I remember bits and pieces of the Quran posted on the wall with those fabric ornate pictures and everything just hanging on the wall, on our walls and stuff. And I remember, the carpets the mats and praying 5 times a day and everything when I was really, really, really little. And I had a babysitter, you guys. And here's how God works. Her name was Grace. And Grace would babysit us. And it was the most peaceful time. Like I loved my dad, you guys. He was everything to me. My very first word was dad. And it was in Arabic, it was Abba. And but it was dad. And I remember going to Grace's house, and Grace actually led my mom to Jesus and gave her a Bible and everything, brought it into the home. And my dad, he came home and they were having problems starting on back before that. And he was a mechanic and he was very, very, very smart. And so he came in the home after, I guess, a days of work, and he found my mom's Bible. And when he found it, I was in our bedroom. And what happened after that just framed in my mind. It was like those defining moments, you know. And I will never forget how my mom looked after that. It was Desert Storm was going on during that time. It was practically Desert Storm in the home. My mom fled with my sister and me. We had a restraining order put against my dad. We went to my grandmother's house in Tennessee. We went into hiding. The last thing I remember about my dad is when they handcuffed him, because I flew into his arms when I was so little, when I could finally walk. My dad, the cops actually allowed my dad to hold me for the very last time. He threw me up in the air and caught me as I cried to him, and I said, "Please don't let them take you." And the last words that he said to me is, "I'll always be right here." And from that point on, the cops took him, jerked him away from me, slammed him in the back of the cop car, and I was put in the back of our car. And it was an old Audi. It wasn't old at the time. My dad was a huge advocate of cars. He had the best, 80s cars. I was born in 86. But he had those muscle. He was a big muscle car owner. But yeah, they put me in the back of the car. I didn't wear my seatbelt, which no one wore seatbelts back in the day. We drove down to Tennessee. I didn't turn back. Like, I was looking in the back windows, that rear view window. And for about 12 hours on and off, I just had my arms like this, crying, and just stared, at the back window at the road going from Jersey to Tennessee. It's a 12-hour drive. Possibly more. I'm not good at that stuff. And so we went into hiding. My mom was still wearing her hijab, and so were we. We went to this little church, and we went to this place called Tellico Plains, Tennessee. My Tellico Plains in Madisonville, shout out to my people. I love you guys. My dad he was locked up. One of his buddies bailed him out, and he went to try to find us. And we were in hiding. He didn't know where we were. And he wrote this long letter. And he's like, "I can't live without my children." And he also said, "If you can't have me, no one else will. You guys, look at this. Look. I don't know if you could see it or not. The birds. Okay. Sorry, I had to. I love this. But yeah, he said if she doesn't want me, if my mom doesn't want me, no one else will have me, and I can't live without my kids. And he overdosed and he hung himself, and they found him 3 days later. Now, I didn't know about the overdose. I only knew about the hanging. And from that point on, my mom, she was mentally unstable. She could not hold down a job to save her life, and she needed help. And I remember that she did drugs, and I remember so many men in the house, and it was just very scary. And one man in particular took advantage of me, and there's just been so much that had happened that I pushed everyone away. I held everyone at a distance, and I thought that it was normal that, a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year old, if you will, going from 4 to 8 to 12, would just take care of her little sister, and, stuff like this happens all the time. When I was 8 years old, we moved around so many times, you guys. I was in 7 different homes, like 7 different locations, with my mom before foster care, before the 7th grade. I accepted Jesus at a Christmas party, a Christmas play, and that really marked the day that changed my life. But before that, I was having all these different kinds of dreams, and I dreamt that literally Jesus came to me, and every time that I would go into a church, my ears would start burning, and Jesus came to me. And I just remember that my I dreamt that I was just standing in this one place, and I was soaking wet, and I dreamt that, there was this complete black side and this complete white side, and there were these really scary figures on this black side, and I mean pitch black. You can't see anything, and the white is so white that you can't see any, like it's complete opposites. And I dreamt that I was being torn back and forth and everything. And I dreamt that, like, I was just so scared. I was just all I could think about was being so scared. And I dreamt that, like, I was being torn, and I saw this guy walking, and he was glowing. And I didn't know who he was at first, but all I know is that he was glowing, and I've never felt so safe in my entire life, ever. And when he came to me, I dreamt that everything just completely faded away. Everything. The black side faded away, the white side became faded away, and it was just me and him. And when I saw him, it was like I was dressed, like I went from this like super, super scared to I was wearing this beautiful Anastasia dress, like the cartoon Anastasia. But it was just like I had a crown on and everything. And it was like Cinderella meets Anastasia, where, the dress just kind of flows, and I just felt so, so safe. So when I went to this Christmas play, I was like, who did I see? I didn't know who to say anything to. And I accepted Jesus there, and, got baptized and all this other stuff later. But I kept having all these dreams. And I am such a dreamer. It's crazy. And every time that I would have a dream, something else would happen. I have had dreams of tornadoes, and there would be an issue where, wow, the wind's really blowing. I like this effect, Papa. This is awesome. um, I would have dreams of tornadoes, and it would be kind of a warning as to what would happen next in our story, you know. And every time that I would have a dream of a tornado, I knew that something, you know, that I had to be prepared and I had to be ready. And I didn't really grow up in Sunday school because we moved around so much. So I would do stuff like this where I would sit out on our, you know, wherever we were, find a little place, and I would journal. And when we were placed in foster care, it was May 20th, 1999. It was the one day that I skipped school. The one day. I am one of those perfectionists. I don't color just within the lines. I make my own lines and color within that. And so it was the one day that I skipped school, and it was like close to the last day of the year. And that one day was the day that I had this eerie feeling. I was listening to a Point of Grace CD, and I was vacuuming because my mom had went out to go get the mail, and it was hours, and she never came back, you guys, ever. And I had this just eerie feeling, and she would have different fits where she would go somewhere and it would be a couple hours, maybe like 1 or 2, and then she'd come back. But this felt longer. Like it was from morning until later into the afternoon, and she never came back, and she always came back. And I had this very eerie feeling, and I called my youth pastor up, who later I found out that he was an undercover agent as well as a youth pastor. And I said, I just have this really eerie feeling that something bad is going to happen. I don't know. And here I am, 12 years old, saying this, having this insight and everything. And he said, when you get to where you're going, call me, and you have my number. And I was like, well, that's weird. Who says that, you know? And so I hung up the phone. The very next call that happened was my grandparents. And my grandmother was crying and everything. And we would spend time over at my grandparents and had wonderful memories. But it was still very, very unstable. There's things that happened that there would be fights. And I mean, it was very scary, very unstable, and all of that. And so she said that she is bringing, her and my grandpa are bringing me to CPS, or the Department of Children's Services. Get what you want, or get what you need, and we have to take you there. And I was like, what? So I pack my backpack, and I bring my bear. I have still this bear that I've had since I was 4 or 5. I found him. His name is Larry, and I never named him until way later, because I found him and I didn't think that he was mine. I got him. I got some of my CDs and maybe a thing of clothes, and I brought my little CD player. And that's all that I had to my name. And I went to the department, and I saw the social worker, and my sister was crying. And when my sister cries, I get mad because she's 3 years younger than me, and she's everything to me. And I told the I told the people, I was like, why is she crying? What are we doing? Where are we going? I want to know now. And if we're separated, I ain't doing this thing, And I was so mature for 12 years old. And they held us, they kept us together, and we were put in this foster home. And I didn't understand the term, never heard the term, but going from the frying pan into the fire. Well, that happened. And some foster homes are wonderful, but some are really bad. And we were placed in this home, and it was awful, you guys. it was horrible. And we were placed in this home in Tellico Plains. And if you ever see a map of Tellico or ever see pictures of Tellico, it's freaking gorgeous. You've got Bald River Falls and everything. It's the heart of the Cherhala Skyway. It's at the base of the Smoky Mountains. And I've just always been around nature. I'm a southern girl and I love it. And so when we were placed in this home, yes, on the outside it looked beautiful. But on the inside, behind closed doors, it was terrifying. People would be slamming doors. There'd be fights all the time. It was that orphan spirit, trying to win the affection. And my adopted mom never beat us, ever. We were raised in church, and thank God for that. But she never beat us. She always prayed and everything, but she was very manipulative with her words. And at the very end, kids would come in. We were the very first foster kids to come in, and other kids would come in, and it was just abusive and just manipulative, and that family should have never had foster kids. When we got out, I went to Lee University. I graduated from Tellico Plains High School. Go Bears. And went to Lee University. I did not graduate. I started out my major as a journalism major because I love writing, and I wanted to work for National Geographic and take pictures and everything. But I also wanted the approval of my foster mom who later adopted us. My biological name was Sophia Heisem Jawish, and now that I was in that home, we got adopted, and my name was Haley. My name turned into Haley, and um, I I changed my major to missions because I wanted my adopted mom to approve of me, and sorry, notification, and accept me and everything. And it was one of the biggest mistakes for changing my major, but I learned so much. And the very last year of college, I went 3 years, and I found out some different things. Some stuff went down, and that summer, no, that Christmas, I somewhere around there. I can't get the dates right, but somewhere around there, I found out exactly how my dad died, and I found some other stuff out as well. And I found out the overdose during that time as well as the hanging. And all these papers that were in our adoption papers, I found those too. And I got the bomb dropped on me, literally or figuratively. My adopted mom was taking our money and just blowing it. She squandered so much and just blew it. And when I was in school, I was taking out all these loans because we didn't know any better. No one told me anything. And I had this impression that my inheritance money was coming because my dad, the Social Security benefits and everything, that was coming. And I was like, if that's not coming, what's going to happen and everything? And I freaked out and I stopped trying. And the financial department said, well, if you are not going to try, because other stuff happened that I'm not going to say, but it was so devastating that, and part of it's not my story, it's someone else's, that I don't feel at liberty to say, but it threw me into a massive depression. And the financial department said, well, if you're not going to try, neither are we. And they cut my funding. So during this time, I was online with this guy who turns out to be my brother who adopts me. That's the best way to say it. He lived in Texas, and his dad and mom are amazing, and I'm sure you can piece together the pieces. But from my sophomore year in high school to college, I would talk to him all the time. He was God fearing and everything, and he would always tell me about God and speak sense into me, as well as, teach me different things about the Bible. And it was just wonderful. And I always listened to him. And when I listened to him and did things that he said, I would always get in trouble in the foster home. And he asked me one day, he was like, well, why do you listen to me? Well, you always get in trouble when you do what I say or suggestion and everything. And I said, you know what? You're the only one who makes sense. And so we became so close. He's practically my brother. And when all of that went down with my financial aid, his dad asked him, he's like, well, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And he goes, let's go get her. And so it was practically the story of the prodigal son right there. So they gave me the ultimatum, or the option, ultimatum. And they said, so we're coming from Texas. We're going to spend some time and we'll come get you from Tennessee to Texas and you can start over. This was during the 08-09 housing crisis, and Tennessee really got wrecked hard that year, and even afterwards it was really hard economically for them. And I was like, let me think about this for a minute. Yes. And so I packed up all my stuff, and it was I was spending time in the dorm that Christmas, and I actually hid in the dorm room. And me, Miss Apple on the teacher's desk, hiding in the dorm room, afraid to get in trouble. Because in foster care, you do what everyone says. You have this perfect persona, because if not, you get put in, alternative school or to an orphanage or, whatever. And I wanted to be that kid that not only was honorable to God, because I always had a heart for Jesus. Um, since I was little. I sang Jesus Loves Me when I was 5 years old. For 4 years, I want to say 4. And my dad heard it, and there was very destructive stuff that happened, very, very scary. Um, because I sing that song. But I'd always been outspoken about Jesus and outspoken about that modesty and integrity and the, holiness of God, and how, we're not just people living in, this place. We are ambassadors. And we, if you go out to a place, your family name is important to you. No one told me that. I just had this impression that when you go out, you're representing someone. When you go out, you're and you're a Christian, you're representing someone. You know what I mean? And so I'd always been this, perfectionist. Like, here's the line and you better obey. And so they gave me that option and I was like, okay. And so we took my car, so many vacuum leaks in it, you guys, 12-hour drive from Tennessee to Texas. And with every mark going along, my car would overheat. We'd have to fill in the water again. And it was one hot mess. And so we made it to Texas 0809 and I started over. And it was such a beautiful time, but it was also very painful because I was like, oh my God, I'm so in trouble. Like, what? I don't know anybody. My sister was still in Tennessee. I don't know anybody. And I started the journey from 0809 to about, I don't know, it took a little bit. And I was starting to become this person who not only is, the soldier, but the daughter. I'm not only the person that obeys all the different rules, but I hear secrets. There's a huge difference. Servants do the rules. Sons and daughters get to hear the heart of the Father, you know. And so it was during that time at the very beginning until, just recently even, my story's not finished and neither is yours, that as I let my guard down, I had all these opportunities and everything. And when your fist is tightened, yes, you're holding on to things, but you also can't receive anything, And so I went through counseling and healing, sozo, if you will. It's called inner healing. And I just forgave everyone who hurt me, and I forgave myself, and I forgave my impression of God, and how I felt that he abandoned me. I didn't think that he heard me when I prayed, and because of everything that happened. And so as I was letting my guard down and allowing Holy Spirit to heal those broken, those silent places with the tears on your pillow, those silent tears, those silent whispers, those sniffles of, trying to be strong for everyone else, but inside you're broken, being abandoned. It was very, very difficult, but so releasing and so freeing. And God set me free in Texas. I'm not just here just because. I am a pioneer. And I knew that from the very beginning. I was like, I am going to this place that I've never seen before, never been before. And God released me into my destiny here. And I met my husband. He is wonderful. That's my last name, Orozco. And it wasn't until after I let Jesus have everything, not just the soldier heart, but also the daughter heart. And after all of that happened, I met my husband, and well, this one, you guys, I met my husband, and he gave me the most beautiful gift. He gave me a DNA test. And I know there's so many, different conspiracies about that and everything, but I was looking for my family early on, and I was always scared of what I would find. And because 9/11 happened with me in my freshman year in high school, and they were talking about Muslims and everything else, but I didn't know, I didn't know who my family was. And thankfully, like he gave me the DNA test, and I bawled. I bawled my eyes out. I bawled for 2 hours just crying. And I, did the test and everything, came back. And long story short, this is going on for 35 minutes. Long story short, I found my family, and it was the most beautiful thing, and I got that groundedness, if you will, you know. Um, but it wasn't, none of that would have happened without me first letting go and letting God. And, you know, instead of so much pushing away, you know, um, and so much closed fist, because when you're young and all the security is torn away from you, you secure, and it's meant to be your protection. But as you grow older, that security, that self-preservation can also be a prison. And I really wanted to tell you guys that and really share my story because it is important to me. And if you guys have um, anything to share, just let me know, and put in the comments down below your thoughts and how this story affected you, because this is meant to be a safe place. It's a place of healing, a place of family, and a place where we can just grow together, not just talk about politics, which is so important, you know, but also, you know, to have that family community, because, you know, we, as the body of Christ, we've got to stick together, you guys. So I love you. Papa loves you more. Stay stubborn and courageous. Bye.